As you know, the eBay algorithm can be very, very good to me, but not to my wallet. This is a prime example, although it wasn't actually that expensive. But I do like Popy models. This is a Popy model. And if you have absolutely no idea what this is, you would almost certainly not be alone. However, when the auction popped up, I thought, I do kind of know what this is actually. So I will explain further as I show you it in a little bit more detail. So this is Popinica PB-58. Poppy are great because they label all of their stuff with numbers, so you know exactly what it is that you're looking at as soon as you look at it. Now, this ship is a spaceship from a Japanese TV series called Sankukai. I also know it as Message from Space. The reason I know of it is because it was a live action show that seemed to have either inspired or given inspiration to Starfleet. Starfleet, English audiences may have heard of. Sankukai, not so much. But Sankukai had a spaceship with sails, a sailing ship in space, just like Starfleet. It had a bad guy who looked a lot like Commander Makara, but was a bloke. And it had a sort of fighting ninja team guys who looked remarkably like Luke Skywalker and Han Solo et al. But they also had a ship that could split into smaller ships. I don't think they had a mecha, but a lot of the components of Starfleet were in this show. So when I was researching Starfleet many, many moons ago, I came across Sankukai and I realised, to my amazement, that I had seen it before. Because when I was little, I often took my bike, went to the local video rental emporium and looked for space stuff. And at that point in time, a lot of space stuff, surprisingly, was dubbed Japanese stuff like Sankukai, or in my case, Message from Space. And I had this memory of a sailing ship like the Skull from Starfleet, but I was convinced that I'd seen it as as actors and actresses in the real world, rather than it being a puppet show. So of course it took me a long time to figure out what I'd actually seen all those years back from a VHS store. But this is what it was. And eBay then threw me up this, which is one of the ships from Message from Space, and it's called the Comet Fire. You might find it odd that they do this, but they do tend to put the English translation of what you're looking at on the model, despite the fact that they're a Japanese manufacturer. It's kind of weird. In fact, they often come from Singapore or Taiwan, depends where they've farmed the act to. Now, I haven't looked at this very closely, but I've already discovered a few things about it purely accidentally in handling it. So I know that, for example, these go in and out, which I assume are sort of engine plumes or something, or some description. I hope they're supposed to do that. Looked like there were missile launchers here and here at one point. I'm guessing they did something down at the bottom there. Don't know quite where the actual missile launchers. Yeah, the canopy opens. That's exactly how I found out that the canopy opens. And that's also exactly how I found out that the wings are variable geometry. All of which is epic, because you don't really expect that in a toy which I assume is probably from the very early 80s. Probably early 80s. Now let's have a look at the detail on the wing. So we've got PB-58 here. Various writing and language that I don't read, which is it says Japan there actually. So this might actually have been originally produced in Japan. Why this was available in the UK, I have no idea. So Popinica, Messages from Space, Comet Fire. So it clearly aimed at an English market, because otherwise, why would you bother putting that much English on it? When you've got limited space. So that in and of itself is sort of intriguing to me. I think this show was known in France quite a lot as well, because I've seen a lot of theme tune conversions of it into French. If you go on YouTube, you will find it. And like Starfleet, which was Bomber X in French, in France, this obviously also got a translation. So we've got this sort of weapony thing going on there. I don't want to risk doing anything unwise to it, but it's definitely got a shooty bit there, which suggests that maybe there used to be something that attached there that could shoot off. So I imagine there was a big missile there at one point, which obviously isn't there anymore. These are quite clever because they're quite bendy, and I'm not actually afraid to bend them, because they haven't snapped off on me yet. Admittedly, I haven't actually had this out of its packet for a few hours, but there's time yet for me to break it. It's got landing gear that flip out, which is awesome, because it means that when you want to fly it around, you just put those away and they're tidy again, which is awesome. I don't know if this is an ST or sort of DX kind of version of it. I literally know as much about it as I'm telling you as I speak. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to really sort of research it, but I am going to count on you, my dear viewers, to tell me what you might know about it, because it wasn't one that was on my list to pick up, and they seldom are. But in this sort of condition, I just thought it's a quite a relatively early Popy in really nice condition. It's got a sort of console on the front there. I just love the detail that goes into these sort of Japanese origin Popy ships. I mean, even the sort of the acceleration couch there is pretty awesome. It's way more detailed than they probably needed. I wonder if there were figures for it. It looks like it could fit a figure. It looks like it was designed with enough space that you could fit a figure. Otherwise, why bother having an opening a canopy? So I don't know. So it's got a kind of Stingray-esque vibe going on from the main engine there at the back. But it's all deeply cool. It's just in such good condition as well. This is the thing about these really solid metal constructs. I mean, it's not actually that heavy, but it just feels so incredibly durable that it's come up through the years in this condition. It's just mind-boggling. So obviously no sort of box or anything, but I mean, as I say, I'm here to display. I'm not really here to out and out collect unless opportunity knocks, so to speak. But I just think that's a really cool ship. I just like it as a ship, full stop. And it looks like you could probably it probably flew around. I'm not even sure what configuration was its most common configuration, but it'll kind of sit like that on its wingtips. There could be people screaming at me telling me not to do that, but in an era of sort of Buck Rogers starfighters and stuff, I would have gone for that in a heartbeat. Had I seen it in the shops, But I just don't know why it's quite so anglicised, because, as I say, I remember the video from the store, yeah, absolutely, but more than that, I couldn't tell you in terms of whether or not it came on TV. Maybe it was even on TV. I don't know. But again, if you know more than I do, which is seldom hard, let me know in the comments. Be very, very interested to see what people think of it and how well known it actually was to people. But for me, it's very interlinked with Starfleet in my head, even though I've never sat and watched it. If you try and draw lines across between Message from Space and Starfleet, you end up with a lot of lines. There are a lot of very, very similar elements. So it does appeal to me on that basis, because it is very much like a sort of, if someone had seen Starfleet and decided to do it as a normal show filmed with humans, so rather like taking Thunderbirds and transitioning to Space 1999 is kind of that idea, But it's also funny because it's kind of like Power Rangers and sort of Sentai shows, in the mix as well. You can see those sorts of stylings in the way that it's filmed. So go and have a look at it on YouTube and see what you think, and then come back and let me know in the comments on my video. All right. So do like and subscribe as ever. Cheers for now.